How you doing, guys? So we're going to do a breezy session today. We're just going to go over a few things that I'm seeing, and we'll see what's happening with the cryptocurrency market, because we've had a little bit of movement right over the weekend. Binance popped a little bit. I actually closed out the Binance position on the experiment that we're doing, which I'll go over in a minute. Swissborg Smart Talks, how you doing? OZ speaking. Oh, Oz, how you doing, man? For those that are listening, Oz is an absolute legend. What's going on, man? Do you know, I was thinking about you the other day, actually. When I invested in the Series A, I got a ticket. I believe it was the golden ticket, or quite a few tickets, actually. That is me in the thumbnail, yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, and I won a couple of whitelist spots, actually, for the Xborg. So, yes, I'll be taking advantage of that. But yeah, no, man, it's been a while. It's been a while since we spoke. I'll reach out, man. We need to talk. We need to just jump on a call and just talk about anything and everything, really. But we had some movement. We've had some movement on the doing great process. Yeah, I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. You know, we've had some challenges recently. Well, at least last year, in the fall of last year. But yeah, no, things are okay. Things are okay. On the up and up, man. You know, I've got a lot of things going on. It's just next level. It's you know, there's so much happening at the moment, and clarities, you know. So yeah, it's like anything in crypto, isn't it, man? You start in one place and then it's like mycelium, you know. You start here and it just goes everywhere, you know. So trying to follow each of these strands to their conclusion isn't always an easy thing, but it keeps you on your toes, and it's a very interesting game. But yeah, so we had some decent movement in the markets recently, and we're getting a little bit of relief on Bitcoin, which is expected. And obviously, the precursor to this, in my opinion, is what's happening here on Binance. Now, I closed the position up here. Obviously, we purchased down here. I'll close the position up here. This is on the experiment account. All right. So, you know, I locked in about $3.41. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but obviously we're dealing with percentages here, you know. So that $50 has become, you know, sort of $53.41. So that's great. And that's minus fees and stuff. The other 4 positions are still open. I'm doing a podcast tomorrow, so I'll do a proper update on the podcast. But just to give you guys a very quick rundown, the positions are currently sitting at, what do we got? So yeah, $5.46 up. So basically 5, 4, almost $20 up on the 4 positions that are remaining. Polkadot, XRP, SHIB, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I'm probably not gonna take off, but I'm going to be watching these very closely. The point I'm trying to make here is this run up here on Binance is just a little bit extended. I was expecting the pullback, to be honest, and I'm expecting it to at least get to 333 or 330, which is pretty much the spot where I entered. So if I feel it makes sense to repick this up, great, but I don't think this is going to continue straight away, if it is going to continue at all. So having said that, you know, weekly looks okay, but we're still in this. And what's important to understand is that we're still in this broad range consolidation, you know, to be fair, about there. We've only just peaked outside of this. We've got 2 pickups of buy side, you know, and we didn't get a stop run. So, well, we did actually. This run here basically takes out all of these lows, you know. So if I was to just put a line basically here, this is what effectively I'm getting at. We had that drop, you know, scoops up the buy side here, and then obviously it started to run second pickup, third pickup, but there just isn't enough. There's just not enough to keep things moving, and we're starting to see some of the alts are starting to move a little bit, and they're stabilizing, you know, while Bitcoin's pulling back. So I think money's starting to flow into a few alts, but again, the problem is with crypto right now is everything's tentative, right? We're waiting for that moment in time where it's like, bang, some news hits, and then we get this explosive move one way or another. I've said many times, and I'll repeat, and I'll continue to repeat, I believe this is going to be, you know, out of nowhere. I don't believe that we're going to see markets, you know, steadily going one way or another. I think we're going to see some pretty aggressive movement at some point within the next 3 to 6 months. As long as you can carry the X on your cap, you should be fine. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So let me go over to Bitcoin. Now, just as a quick heads up, for those that don't know, I've activated the memberships on the YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing videos for one of the tiers, and they're going to be quite lengthy videos. They're going to be very in-depth. It's all analysis. It's not education. I'm not going to be talking about how to trade and things like this. You know, I've got like 160 plus videos on the Patreon, page with all of that content. You know, but the videos that I want to do, I was kind of a toss-up between basically making a video and just throwing it online, you know, or having a very structured approach where people can pay a little bit of money, you know, get some really in-depth analysis, and then it saves me having to deal with a lot of the BS, you know, in terms of, you know, non-financial advice and this sort of thing, because it's actually a membership service. So that's going to be coming later today for anybody that signed up to that. I would say probably after 6 p.m., 7 p.m., somewhere around there. I'll be recording the video. It takes a while to process, obviously, as I upload it online. But I'm going to be going into, obviously, all of the details. I'm going to be going into, you know, what I feel to be at the moment points in time. And I just recently posted a tweet about this, and we'll just go to this. I'll show you. So the recent tweet that I posted was this one here. You know, now that the crypto market has been running for some time, it makes things much easier to work out the line in the sand that has been crossed to see a crash. I'll go through this later today, and I'm going to be talking about this, and I'll talk a little bit about it now as well. What I mean by this is, because we've had some movement, almost, well, it's not almost, I believe it's over 100%, you know, or almost 100%. We'll call it 100% movement from the bottom to, you know, where we currently are now, this bottom. There's a line in the sand now that's been created by Bitcoin that if price gets back through that, it's very unlikely that we're not going to see, you know, these levels down here, 11,655 and low, and potentially 10K, right? There's enough structure to look at this now and say, right, there is, you know, a nice move down, a little bit of a consolidation. You know, we've had a reversal here. You know, we've had a first pickup of buy side, a little bit of rebalancing, and then a big run to the upside, and it's literally hit this LP. I was kind of saying between 30 and 32,000. We've stabilized in this area. You know, so if Bitcoin starts to take a move to the downside, and let's say, for example, we see something pretty aggressive like this today, right? Just for argument's sake, right? So we see a move like this on Bitcoin, right? If that happens, it's still relatively okay, you know, to make a case for upside movement, right? To continue past 32K and start to drive towards maybe 37, 38, you know. But if it goes any lower, and I'm not saying this is the line in the sand, but there are levels, you know, on the lower time frames that if price starts to run through them, it's very unlikely that we're going to see price continuing and continuing and continuing to the upside. It's more likely that we get stabilization, pick up a sell side distribution, and then bang, right? So there's a lot of variables to take into consideration. If we just drop down to the daily chart here, you know, just to see how all of this kind of fares, you can see this is kind of the moment, you know, where it was this was the real buy. You know, if you wanted to buy as a swing trade or a trade, this was the real one. Anybody that's shorting up here, I think, is going to be, you know, making, you know, we'll get a decent move to the downside. But again, it depends. You know, we are stuck right in the middle of an LP, right? Which, because things are slowing down in the crypto market at the moment, and we're getting to that point now where it's like, okay, where is that money flowing into? Is it flowing into alts? Is it flowing into Bitcoin? Is it flowing out of Bitcoin and going into Binance? You know, Binance basically, their recent pop, I believe, it was manipulation. I think that recent pop on Binance is nothing but manipulation, to be fair, and as such, you know, I don't trust it. This is part of the reason why I closed that position on the experiment, and I'm basically looking for an opportunity to see the uptick in volume. Right now, volume is an interesting one because it's very easy to look at price and say, well, you know, if I just stick, and I don't know if I can do this very quickly. I don't really want to do this, to be honest, but if I just stick volume bars up, right? So Just volume, yeah. So if I just stick volume bars up, right, and you see, okay, right, this down movement corresponds with an increase in volume. Apparently, there was a lot of buying happening here, according to this volume indicator. Now this red is going down. We're seeing a little bit of selling, but there's not much to shout home about in terms of volume peaking or spiking or anything like this. But these indicators, the only reason I've just put this up is because I want to illustrate something. When I say uptick in volume, right, I'm not talking about seeing something like this where you see an increase and the bars are going up and they're getting wider. And I don't trust any indicators like this, period. The only indicator that I would trust something like this is if the indicator is on the futures market, where it's a centralized exchange and everything is basically being logged and tracked and going through one place. As far as I'm concerned, there's so many different flipping feeds for Bitcoin. This volume indicator could mean absolutely anything, right? So for me, it's like seeing that uptick. How you doing, JT? Seeing that uptick in volume isn't a question of volume bars. Yeah. It's a question of what type of volume is coming into the market, right? And how to measure that volume. I measure it looking at the candles and the way that price is moving around in certain areas, doing a little bit of math as well. But to illustrate using this indicator, I'm not saying, and I want to be clear, I don't use this indicator, but I want to illustrate what I'm talking about. So if price starts to drop really dramatically, right, and we were measuring volume based on, what we like to look for on the chart, on the blockchain, looking for how much, the mining hash rate is going up, the difficulty, some of the other variables that, anybody can basically look at, and it's all available online. So let's say we see something like this. The measurement of volume that I'm talking about, I would need to see it visually in the chart, that's definable. So seeing a big uptick in volume as price is dropping, gives an indication that volatility is starting to increase. Just like when you look at the VIX, for example, in the stock market, that gives you an increase, that gives you an idea of volatility, or upcoming volatility, and so on. We need to see that uptick in volume, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that that uptick in volume is going to be followed by movement, but it shows that money's moving around. Now, what makes the cryptocurrency market a little bit interesting, or more interesting in this case, is that because Bitcoin, for example, is mined, there's a lot of mining that happens, and then that Bitcoin is dumped on the market, right? And the money for that Bitcoin has to come from somewhere. A mined Bitcoin, think about this. Let's say you mine one Bitcoin. Now, one Bitcoin is currently worth 29,415, give or take, right? That's fine. So I'm in my mining farm. I've just mined one full Bitcoin. Fantastic. And I'm holding that Bitcoin in a wallet, and I'm like, okay, great. This is worth, according to what I'm seeing, 25K. Great. Fantastic. How do I get that money? Sorry, 29K. How do I get that money? Well, I have to put it on an exchange, and then I have to swap it effectively for fiat currency or for another cryptocurrency. But ultimately, the conclusion is fiat currency. It has to be put in fiat currency, and then taken off the exchange for you to use, said fiat currency. The problem is, where does that fiat currency come from? Well, it comes from everybody else, right? Because if your only sole purpose is to mine Bitcoin and then use that to swap for fiat currency, you're not contributing per se to the fiat economy within cryptocurrency. You're just bringing Bitcoin to the table and saying, guess what? I've got some Bitcoin. I need my money. I need to swap my money. You're going up to the counter and you're saying, I've just mined this Bitcoin. Can you change it for me for, whatever the current value is? Sure. No problem. There you go. That money has to be there though. Yeah. And that money has to come from somewhere, so ultimately the mess that is created within cryptocurrency on exchanges, right? That fiat currency funnels into cryptocurrency from a lot of different sources and is changed for a lot of different things, but the fiat currency remains the same. You might have 10,000 tokens, but the fiat currency remains the same. And that fiat currency, the measurement of this obviously is in dollars, but there's fiat currencies from all over the world: euros, pounds, the Chinese yuan, the Swiss franc, so on. A lot of people are using their fiat currency to exchange for cryptocurrencies. So when a miner comes along and says, yep, I want my money, that has to come from somewhere, and it comes from retail investors. Now, the reason I mention all of this is because what's interesting and what's important is the measurement of fiat currency on exchanges. We don't always know how much is there, but we can see the flow of money coming in and out of exchanges, just using the blockchain. and some other, some other elements, stock, not stock screeners, but, kind of crypto screeners and this sort of stuff, which gives us an indication of money flowing out of Bitcoin and going into alts, for example, or money flowing out of alts, and going into stable coins, or money going from stable coins to Bitcoin, and so on. These are the things that we need to measure. So when we see these upticks in volume, the volume is measured in this case, the variables that I've just mentioned, but then the ultimate conclusion of those variables has to be fiat currency. And this is why I believe very strongly that there is going to be a liquidity crisis within the cryptocurrency space, and I think a lot of projects are going to suffer because of that. So that's kind of, the analysis for now. Lobo, what's going on, man? Appreciate the... Oh, it comes up on my end as well. Remember, sweet, man. Fantastic. That video is going to be coming later. And just a quick side note as well. I don't need to explain myself, but I'm going to, right? The reason why I've activated these memberships, and I'll do this very quickly. It's not a plug, right? You guys know what I'm like. It makes me feel very uncomfortable, actually, turning it on. But I was having a conversation with somebody, and it's like, are you stupid, man? Like, you've got so much content, you deliver so much value, and you're literally tirelessly online all the time. You should be paid for your time. And I was like, yeah, but I want it to grow organically and this and that. He's like, you're an idiot. So anyway, after that conversation, I started thinking, many of you know I got run over by a car, which would have been, I guess, about a year and a half ago. Roughly, so about a year and a half ago, got run over by a car. The whole left side basically was just kind of pushed in this way, dislocation, in the C6 and C7. That basically can't be repaired. The physio guy was saying to me the risk of doing surgery is just not worth it. So you're better off just strengthening your neck, making sure that your shoulder is basically being worked on continuously. Light gym, physio, all the usual stuff, right? Now, because of that, I just, if with what happened with the exploit recently, or at least last year, and some of the other things that I want to do, Shane, thank you, man, really appreciate that. But with some of the things that I have been wanting to do, I took the transition from basically from basically working in construction, which I was doing for quite some time, into doing this full time. Right? And obviously everything was great. Everything's moving forward nicely. Fantastic. Happy days. The problem is I can't go back into construction now. Right. And I wouldn't really want to. Like, I enjoyed construction. I love construction. But a lot of the work that I've done over the years, besides the boring stuff like insolvencies and whatever else, when I was in the insolvency game, most of it's labor, right? And I don't want to be going into the labor market, and starting to kind of do that thing. Even the electrician side of things, I was doing a little bit of electrics, maintenance. That's easy. It's easy work. But the reality is you're still bending, you're still moving, you're still twisting. I don't want to put myself in that position. So I need to basically start to build up, the brand to a point where I don't have to worry. I can just sit at home, deliver the content, be online, work through the rheumatic stuff, work through some of the other things that we've got going on, and not have to worry about anything that's going on outside of that. So that is part of the reason why, I've activated that. And slowly I want to grow, I want to grow the channel, obviously, but I want to find a way to give back, but we'll deal with that at a later time. So the analysis, like I said, for me, I think we're at a very, very interesting moment in time within the cryptocurrency space, right? Currently in April's going to finish soon. We've got May, June, and July, and we're practically in the summer. So I think within the next 3 months, we're either going to get one of two things, I believe, right? And I'm not talking about movement up or down, bearish, bullish, nothing like that. But I believe that there are things that are going to come into fruition. We've got Fed now coming soon, right? That's coming in June, July sort of time. That Fed now system is basically going to be promoted, or pushed onto, the US market, but it's also going to have a global effect. You still have the effect of the dollar, okay, which at the time you can see that the dollar's had a little bit of a run, but we came very close to 100. I still believe we will see 100 at some point, but the dollar's basically taking a pounding, and I think that's going to be affected as well, by this Fed now. Maybe there's a little bit more of a relief, relief rally coming in the US dollar for now, but ultimately within the next 3 months, I think going into the summer, we're going to get one of two things. We're either going to get nothing, and we're going to get stability across all markets as things start to slow down going into the summer, or we're going to see some pretty nasty stuff, and this aggressive volatility that hits the cryptocurrency market as crypto is being dumped onto the market. One of the things that I don't think many are aware of, right, is that we have a lot of, let me get rid of this. I'm not interested in this. It has to go. One of the things that, you know, a lot of people I feel aren't really paying attention to is that there has to be, you know, a cause from the effect of money that is seized, cryptocurrency that has been seized that we're not aware of, right? So you have banks like Silicon Valley Bank, Signature, you know, and the others. That cryptocurrency has to hit the market at some point. If it doesn't, it's just being held in custody to do nothing, basically, right? And I think a lot of, this is my theory, I think a lot of this money that has basically been seized from even a lot of regional banks as well, that were holding cryptocurrency on their books that we're not aware of, that are going under, that are closing, that are filing for bankruptcy and so on. All of that cryptocurrency collectively is being held in custody. And isn't it interesting that we have banks going under, we have all of these problems that all of a sudden, you know, started to occur with crypto-friendly banks, and now we're getting a rally in the marketplace. You know, that rally in the marketplace, i.e. Bitcoin and some of the other, you know, these altcoins that are running, and some of the blue chips that are running, isn't it interesting that they're all running just as these larger amounts of crypto currently have been seized from these banks, you know, because that custody, but that cryptocurrency that is being held in custody is obviously worth more as the market is going up. So if a bank was holding a lot of Bitcoin, for example, you know, it makes sense that Bitcoin's going higher now, right? Maybe we get that secondary really nice run to 35K. And then some of that, you know, Bitcoin is dumped on the market. All of that retail money is sucked out of the market. And then we rinse and repeat, you know, and all of that hype starts to come back in again. Bitcoin to the moon, da 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 da. And a lot of retail money comes back into the market, and then rinse and repeat, dump, you know, and that retail money is taken out of the market. So interesting times ahead. Very interested to see how all of this kind of plays out. And it's a very interesting time. Very interesting time. So we're coming up to around about 22 minutes or so. If there's any questions, what we got here, guys, I really appreciate you guys signing up, man. I really appreciate that. Yes, I made another live one. Ro, what's going on? My sister Ro. Construction not bad, quite zen at times, but it's difficult work for young'uns. Yeah, my God, man, it is. I mean, I grew up labouring. I mean, I started working when I was 11, really. You know, helping my mum do the, you know, the spuds for the chippy and all that sort of stuff. So cutting fish, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I'm no stranger to labour. You know, I enjoy it. I love labour. When I'm done here, I'm gonna go to the gym. Stabby sister, yeah. You know, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna push myself hard. I like to work. You know, but the problem is with construction. Just to give you a very quick side note while I'm waiting for any questions, you know, I was putting in a, you know, we basically put in a ceiling. So we built the frame, put in a ceiling, right? And one of the spots was literally me having to climb into the ceiling, right, to put down the fireboards, right? You're talking about a space realistically of about 2 foot. And that was getting worse and worse and worse as the slant of the roof was getting to the, you know, to the corner of where I needed to basically nail, you know, and screw in these fireboards right into the wood. You know, the angles that you're having to put yourself in, and it puts your joints in places they're not supposed to be. If you're just doing brickwork, for example, and you're laying bricks, fine, whatever, you know, but even then, for example, you're doing an extension, you know, you have to, you know, build the outer wall, you know, and put the crevice in the middle. So you're building 2 walls side by side. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you have to lift midsection, great, easy. But eventually, you're going to get to a point where you're lifting and you're having to hold, you know, blocks, you know, in place, 12K, 15K, 16K blocks, kg blocks at weird angles. And it puts your joints out. It creates and actually causes micro tears, you know, and those get worse and worse and worse over time. And then as the muscle builds around those micro tears, you end up in a situation where the underlying cause is still there, but then there's muscle around it, and you only feel it in certain angles. But when you feel it, my God, do you feel it? My shoulders come out 3 times since I got run over by that car. We went for a day in the park for my son's birthday last year, and I was holding the back, so I'm left-handed, and I swung like that, and my shoulder literally just dislocated. It's awful, but you know, I like I said, I'm going to continue to do what I need to do, strengthen it, do whatever, and we'll see how see how it plays out. But I need to relax, man. I need to start taking more time because my body's falling apart. Yeah, off to Spain in 5 days. I'm currently avoiding my. Nice, sis, man. Get some time away from the UK. Good. Yeah, see if you can hook up with Dylan, man. Dylan's in Spain. Doing constant low-grade damage to yourself, joints, lungs, all comes to, yeah, 100%, 100%. I don't know if you know anything about construction, or you probably do, but Lobo, do you have you ever worked with Kingspan? And for those that don't know what Kingspan is, it's basically insulation, the stuff that's made from fiberglass. You know, and then obviously you've got the other types of Kingspan, which is basically made from fish bones. You know, it's awful. It's absolutely, it's called rock wool, right? So you've got rock wool and you've got Kingspan. These, when you're breathing this stuff in, you put a mask on, it doesn't matter. You know, I used to have one of these, and it was later, but I eventually got one of the masks where you basically have the pack on your back and you're constantly filtering out, you know, all of the bad stuff, and it literally covers your whole face. That's fine. But that stuff gets in your eyes, it gets in your lungs. God forbid you come across any asbestos while you're on work, you know, or while you're working. Dangerous stuff, man. Dangerous stuff. So, you know, all good. I don't want to digress. Just signed up. I like it. I like the ideas. I don't know. Oh, is it $6.99, Connor? Sorry, man. I don't know if you're on the call. I'm pretty sure it's. Sorry, guys. Let me just check the tier because I don't think the tier is $6.99. It should be $5.99. It's really weird. The way you set this up is, I think it's backwards the way that they've done this. It doesn't make sense. And then they have to review it. And once they review it, they don't allow you to change anything. Sorry, guys. I don't want to. Yeah, and if you, and again, if you guys got any questions, just post them. I'll get to them in a sec. Yeah, no, it's $5.99 a month. Yeah, but that's in pounds. So I'm not sure. I slow down my type so fast, man. I make so many mistakes. Yeah, so all good. Cool. Cracking 150-year-old roofs. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. There was we had to clean pigeon poop, as we call it. And I refused to do it. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And eventually I did a bit, but after that I was like, yeah, I don't want to touch this stuff. It's really bad. It's really bad. So give me your thoughts on the markets, guys. You know, let's make this a little bit more interactive. Don't forget to like the stream as well. I know there's not many people on. I didn't really promote this one. Didn't really push it out there too much. I just wanted to kind of jump on. I know a lot of people will watch this video later, you know, later on. But give me your thoughts on the markets at the moment. You know, do you guys think that we are? I know most of you are in my Discord, right? So I kind of know what everyone's going to say anyway. But it's nice to get some interactive comments. Like, do you think we are in a bottom? You know, do you think we have bottom? Do you think that we're ready to really start to run? I know, like I said, I know what most of you will say because we've already discussed much of this in the Discord. And for anybody listening to this outside of the community, you know, the link to the Discord's in the description below. No scammers, please. Thanks. We will find you and we will eject you violently. Yeah, I had somebody try it on recently as well. You know, it was you, Lobo, actually, that told me. I got rid of him very quickly, but they're using different names now. You know, it's just madness. It's absolute madness. But yeah, so while I'm waiting, give me 2 seconds. All right, guys. Sorry, I'm back. Let's go through some of these things. Dylan, are you still on? I've just seen your question. I've just seen your question in our private Discord. If you're still on, just give me a quick thumbs up so I know you're there, and then I'll answer that question now. Because it's actually an interesting question, very interesting question, actually. Yeah, sweet. Okay, so and I'm talking about the backtesting question. Yes, the thing about backtesting for me, and we're going completely off topic for a second, guys, but I just want to quickly tell you the thing about backtesting is depending on how you backtest will depend on what you get from it, right? So you have to go into backtesting with a very specific goal in mind, or specific goals in mind. The idea of backtesting generally, is to test a system. So you go back, you test a system, and it's more statistical analysis, probabilities. And once you've figured all of that out, you say, okay, said system over a 3-year period, should be winning 60% of the time. And then you go live with it. And then it is literally just a question of taking those trades exactly as that system is, right? That, for me, I think works if you are focused on building systems, because we are dynamically trying to understand the markets, right? And everybody sees something different. Backtesting has to be specific to you. So in terms of backtesting, it's like, okay, if I'm going to be doing some backtesting, what is it that I'm actually backtesting? Am I backtesting or trying to understand the feel of the market? Am I trying to understand, the liquidity hotspots? I'm trying to understand, pick up some, buy side and sell side liquidity. Really, what you're doing is you're looking at the accumulation and distribution, right, of what you're seeing on a chart, and you're saying, okay, is this level that I've just seen a accumulation point? Do I believe that price is accumulating buy side or sell side liquidity, or is price picking up orders, or is price offloading? Because the accumulation phase can be both sides. You can be accumulating to the upside or accumulating to the downside. So if you're very specific about what it is that you're trying to do, and you're looking for, to apply what you've learned in a backtesting scenario, then yes, it works. If you're building a system, it also works. Yeah. So in terms of, is there value there? I believe there is, because you have to look at history to understand where you have been, where price currently is, and where it could potentially be going, because we need to understand all of those pickups. We need to understand where the liquidity is. We need to understand the crossover points, the negations, the snapbacks, all of this stuff. And when we see all of this, we are effectively backtesting the market all the time in real time anyway. But if you want to be a little bit more specific about it, you need to basically do multi-time frame backtesting analysis. Yeah, because if you don't, you end up stuck on one time frame, which is generally what a lot of system backtesting does. And then it will just focus on, okay, if this pattern happens, it's going to buy. If this pattern happens, it's going to sell. This is the stop loss. This is the target. These are the ratios. Done. Off it goes, and it will do its backtesting. But you need to do multiple time frame backtesting analysis, where you're doing monthly, the weekly, the daily, the 4-hour, and you're going through the entire spectrum. So when you're doing your backtesting, you are basically taking context in your backtest and seeing what that looks like going forward, right, in all of the different scenarios. So yes, it absolutely has weight. You have to do it properly. And, if you want me to help you with that, obviously I will, of course, no question. And then at some point later today, I'm going to go through what you've sent me, and then we'll do, yeah, we're still going to be working on timing anyway. So yeah, cool. All right. Do you do face pulls? What we got here? Sorry, let me just go back up. Rose going to Seville. Seville's beautiful, man. Amazing place. Plenty of other stuff. Going to take a lot more evidence to convince me we're in a bull market. Absolutely, yeah. And to be fair, I knew he was going to say that, Lobo. To be fair, we've spoke about this so many times. Think it will go to 32k BTC, slap early shorters, then down possibly. Yeah, I agree, Echo. Just undecided on whether we're dropping sooner or later. Agreed. It's difficult, man. Timing is it's timing over a longer period of time. You're using higher time frame models. Very difficult. Very, very difficult, because you have to wait so long for these models to, to kind of unfold. I found it interesting that alts have not been following BTC, not convinced the bottom is in. Agreed. Altcoin movement is interesting today. It is. I noticed this, and that's why I put that tweet out. Very interesting. Very, very interesting that we're getting pockets of decoupling effectively across the entire cryptocurrency market, and what normally is supposed to happen isn't happening. And this is why somebody asked me recently, do you believe in the 4-year cycle? And it was Rob in the last live session asked me, do I believe in the 4-year cycle? I do and I don't. And the reason that I don't, and why there is a negative there is because you can't look at a 4-year cycle and say that that's going to happen every time. I think if people are honest with themselves and they really look deep, they can see something is quite broken right now. Yeah. A lot of the variables that happened in the past, and going back to Dylan's backtesting idea, or the question, we can apply it to what we're talking about. A lot of these backtesting models, right, and where people look at different things and say, this happened, on Bitcoin, and it's always Bitcoin. This happened in this cycle. This happened in this cycle. It's been, history repeats itself every time. No, it doesn't, because there is a lot of broken stuff right now. We're in completely different market conditions, and there's a lot of things that we can't account for at the moment because we don't know what's going to happen, purely based on the fact that they're lagging effects, especially with inflation and some of the other things that are going on. So in the US, predominantly with the US dollar. So there's not really a great deal that we can do with that. We just have to be really, really patient, and then try to figure out what it is that we're actually seeing, because there is no consistency in cryptocurrency right now. Unless you're focused just on one thing, there's no consistency. My take on some of the macro is that the US recession already started this quarter. Yeah, I think it started at the beginning of the year, or actually last quarter. So basically the fourth quarter of last year. And I believe that we've been in a war since 2017. Yeah, it's just not physical, so, and I don't mean the UK, I'm just talking globally. Might take a couple more months and then for them to admit it. I agree. Sitcom, Citycom, you're asking me, do you do face pulls? Yeah. If you're talking about, pull-ups, yeah, I do. Even if BTC goes lower, I still feel like I want to start DCAing in about now, if only because I don't trust anything at this point. Yeah, I mean, look, the DCA model. Yeah, no worries, Dylan. The DCA model is an interesting one, because if you apply it with logic, and this is part of the experiment that I'm doing, right, with this, this $1,000. If you apply a DCA model, right, methodically, with correct math, with really letting price move around, and you really understand, what's happening on the chart, and you really understand your system and everything that you're doing, you're fine. Like you literally, the only way, and I'm going to say this openly, right, the only way that you can lose money DCAing, outside of being a complete tool and just buying and just being nuts and not, if you apply dollar cost averaging correctly, mathematically correctly, the only way that you can lose money over a lifetime, okay, is if the asset that you are DCAing into goes to zero. That's the only way, because mathematically you can DCA into any asset over your lifetime and make money. Yeah, you just can, but you have to do it correctly. You've got to be patient, and a lot of people don't have years to be patient. They want months, they want weeks, they want days, and this is why a lot of people lose money, outside of all of the usual hype stuff and everything else. So interesting times, man. Interesting times. Let me go and check my Discord for a second. That makes perfect sense. No worries, man. Sweet. Boom. All right, cool. So we'll probably call it there. Been an okay session, nice and relaxed, and I will get the video out a little bit later. It will just be a members video. So obviously, I've got some new options now on the YouTube Studio. So I'm hoping to get that out at some point. I don't want to give an exact time, but it'll be a little bit later this evening. I've got some stuff I need to send over to Dylan first. That'll take some time, and then I'll do the video afterwards, and we'll go into a lot of this stuff and see what's happening. And with that said, I need to get myself to the gym, because it is actually a beautiful day, so I might walk there for a change. Hope everyone has a wicked day. Obviously, I'm in all the usual places. If you're not already in the Discord, the link's in the description below. If you haven't liked the stream, like the stream, just as I'm about to close it, and I'll speak to you guys later. Ciao for now. Thank you, Ken. And I'll just quickly say that I really, really appreciate that, man. Thank you.